What's up, guys? Been a little bit, but let's talk through some things because we have a lot happening. We've had a pretty stale month or two of Marvel Snap with a lot of Thanos domination, some Surfer rising up to tech. Golden Gauntlet tournament is concluded, and we have a lot of things coming forward that I think are going to be a huge change of pace compared to we've been kind of stuck with, I guess. That's not the nicest way to put it, but it's probably true. Um, so let's talk, man. We've got an OTA coming up this Thursday. We haven't had any in May, really. So Glenn Jones from Marvel Snap has been kind of talking about how this is going to be a bigger, more impactful OTA with slightly more changes than normal. Because we haven't had an OTA this month, so I'm really looking forward to this. Looking forward to some Thanos nerfs and other things. And hopefully some buffs that can kind of shake things up and really give us a meta game. June 3rd, we're getting a patch as well as that new season. So we're going to be getting kind of magic casters season with a lot of skills involved. So that's really fun. And then we're getting another OTA right 2 days after that. Which is really nice because they can kind of come out swinging in this OTA and then kind of tone things down, if they go overboard. So I'm really hoping that we get some really cool stuff. We have a bunch of cool cards. So I'm going to be talking up to Merlin. So just basically, literally, what's going to happen next week. Um, maybe I'll break down the rest of the cards of the month later. But yeah, Ancient One, Nightmare, Dormammu look like all bangers. Clea kind of sucks, but I'm hoping that in the patch we can kind of see that she got buffed last second, because as is, I think she sucks. But those other three cards, really exciting cards for the month. But for now, I'm just going to talk about what we're going to get in the next week, which is a lot. So that's why I wanted to make this video. First off, let's talk OTA. What I'm expecting, what my wish list does. Obviously, we need to address the Thanos problem, and there's a lot of avenues that we want to go to. We want to talk about the power cards that every Thanos deck runs, and the ongoing versus tech Thanos, and what kind of pushes them further than what they were before. So let's talk about the cards that are in every single Thanos list: Wiccan, Sam Wilson, Mockingbird. Wiccan, I didn't really think there's much you can do about Wiccan. He's a fun card, so I don't want to destroy him just because of Thanos. Mockingbird is a card that has been a problem in Thanos since she came out. I really expect her to either get nerfed or she gets a buff in terms of her stat line, but she gets that Victoria hand text where it's cards added to hand and then played discount her, rather than kind of similar to how Victoria Hands works, where it doesn't work with created cards from Thanos from Arisham that were created beginning of the game. So that's what I'm really expecting out of Mockingbird, and I think that that plays a role into what we see in the rest of the nerfs. Because if they cut out Mockingbird, I think Thanos is largely nerfed if they can't run Mockingbird anymore, and like maybe even all these other changes don't need to be made. That's what I'm thinking, right? Maybe another thing about that OTA being within 1 week is that they can do this Mockingbird change and then decide if they need to do further changes or if that's enough. I really do expect Mockingbird to get hit because she is just an insane card that really shouldn't be working with stones, and it's kind of silly at this point. So as well as that is Sam Wilson, Captain America. I think he was 45% include rate at Golden Gauntlet, and I'd imagine it's more if you cut out the people that just didn't own him. So yeah, Sam Wilson, insane card, still seeing play. Really expect him to go to 2/1 or to just not buff, only buff +1 when the shield moves. Obviously, I would hate for them to kill him, but he is just way too good, way too free to run in decks that don't even like have much synergy with him other than just him being a 2/6 on curve and otherwise giving you a free body to play around with and mess with. So I really expect him to go down to 2/1. And he's also an important part of Thanos, so I think that's an extra nice nerf that you could have. Not to mention that he's then less useful if you nerf Mockingbird as well, right? So maybe he even gets cut from the list, which then hurts Strange Supreme, right? So Strange Supreme and Goliath in ongoing versus Tech Thanos, those are the big bombs or power plays that those decks have, and they're really difficult to deal with. Um, I Strange Supreme especially is just crazy in Thanos. Um, but with if there is a Mockingbird change and a Sam Wilson change, I would like to see, or I would be interested in seeing if they also do a Strange Supreme nerf, and I would be even more surprised if they also did a Goliath nerf. Just because Goliath seems kind of fine regular ongoing. So I'd be kind of interested I'm interested in seeing how far they nerf Thanos. And so I think Goliath and Strange Supreme are in the further echelons of like hitting Thanos even harder and harder, as well as just straight up reverting the recent Thanos buffs of him going back to 610 Space Stone, going back to 1/1. I think those are less high priority. My biggest thing is just hitting Mockingbird and toning down Sam Wilson, and then seeing from there, and then maybe a week from there, we if we still don't like how much Thanos is seeing play, then we can kind of tone down Thanos, tone down Strange Supreme, tone down Goliath. But yeah, um, so one of the things I wanted to kind of talk about is Mr. Negative. So Mr. Negative is really powerful when there's not Mobius exactly. So it just happens to be that every Thanos list is running Mobius because they want to beat the mirror and beat their opponent's a Mockingbird. So Mobius was literally the second most included card in the Golden Gauntlet tournament. I think it was like 40% of decks. And you didn't see any Mr. Negative there. But if you look at games where where Mobius isn't there, Mr. Negative shoots up in win rate to a crazy amount. And I think we're getting to a point where the pop off of literally just going Mr. Negative into Jane Foster, if you don't have Mobius, is just insane. And if Mockingbird is going to get that big nerf, or at least exclusion from Thanos, I think that Mr. Negative becomes a problem because all these decks all of a sudden want to cut Mobius, but now they can't because Mr. Negative's too good. So uh, I think that this is just preventative measure to just have Jane Foster not work with Mr. Negative anymore. It feels kind of silly that it's just a two-card combo that beats anything your opponent is ever going to have. And I'm not saying Mr. Negative is. I think Mr. Negative is more fun and interesting to play against as well when it's not just Mr. Negative and the Jane Foster and you auto lose, versus Mr. Negative and maybe they play him on three or they play Magic and they get three draws and you have to kind of play around and think about what three draws they have versus they have everything. I'm just going to fold immediately to that, right? So, changing Jane Foster from lowercase cost to capital case cost. So she is only drawing those hammers, those wasps, those yellow jackets, those always zero cost cards versus any discounted cards in deck. I think would be a preventative measure. Um, Not saying that they will, but it's something that I would consider doing if we are expecting to see less Mobius. I think that this is the point. If there were to be less Mobius, that Mr. Negative would be really scary to deal with. I also want to talk about Surge. Surge is a really powerful card right now. She is also one of the most included cards in decks. I think she was at 35% of decks for Golden Gauntlet, something along those lines. She's really powerful, and she's probably seeing more play than she probably warrants in terms of playability or fit, just because she's so good. Some decks like aren't really even having to plan around adding her to a deck and doing synergy or anything, just because she's so good. And so maybe not right now, because she only released earlier this month, at the beginning of the month, which is kind of crazy. But uh, I wouldn't be surprised if they toned her down to 2/1 or something. But yeah, those are all my nerfs that I would expect or kind of want maybe. Let's talk about buffs. There's a lot of crappy cards that just haven't really gotten help. With Zorn releasing this week, he has, he has Vulture, he has Red Wing at the 3 cost, but he has nothing at 4 cost that really synergizes with him. Plus, bring down Spider-Man 2099 back to 4 cost, whatever that stat line be, 4/7, 4/6. I think that would be pretty fun to do with Zorn, and he has another synergy that works pretty well with him at the 4 cost slot, and it really makes that deck building a lot easier. Works well with Hellion, which we'll talk about later. But I just thought that would be a pretty neat idea. Elixir, obviously, I know that the devs are kind of being slow about possibly buffing Elixir when Kid Omega is coming out, which we'll talk about later. He's a huge synergy for him. But I really do hate that his on reveal only works for cards destroyed the last turn, and started cards that were just the last card destroyed. So I think that would be a nice change of pace. That way you can destroy something plus Elixir on the same turn. And I think that would be a lot. I think that would be fair. I don't think that would be broken by any means. And that would really help his playability for sure. Penny Parker, just a small change that I had in mind. I really hate that the spider that she gives you makes you have to move that turn, and you can't hold the move for whatever reason. Moving on turn 4 is a lot less impactful than moving on turn 6. So I think just giving it Nightcrawler text where you can only move this once would be a huge help for the spider and making it actually feel kind of useful, that move effect. The thing, he really sucks. I was talking about it with friends, and literally the high evolutionary, sorry, I should have said the high evolutionary version of the thing, uh, is just a worse Laufey, which is kind of sad that the upgraded thing is 9 times out of 10. No, it's always actually worse than Laufey. And I just thought that was really sad. So I think that the thing could definitely get buffed. Um, what they do to buff him, I don't know. Make him just hit the same thing if he wants to. I don't know. Just do something. He really stinks right now. Um, Infinity Ultron, yeah. So devs said that they initially gave him the +2 power from 5/6 to 5/8. They said that they were going to grab more data. It's been a month, so I'm hoping that they can kind of really figure out that Space Stone sucks. Soul Stone conditionally sucks. Time Stone conditionally sucks a lot of the time. Mind Stone sucks if you aren't building around it, and I don't know. It's kind of weird because the rest of Infinity Ultron doesn't really want you to build around it. I don't. Sorry, that's a lie. I kind of. I don't know. It's debatable. Anyways, just use some data, change up some stone stat lines. I don't expect them to change, text for the most part. But like I don't know, just make Space Stone 3/5 or 3/6. Like I swear, Space Stone is just the worst stone. So just buff up some crappy stones, and I'll be happy. And then Cersei, yeah. So Cersei really sucks, even though she's pretty cool. So make her 5/8, make her 5/9, make her 5/10 for all I care. She really sucks. Just give her a buff. But yeah, I think those would all be pretty safe, pretty fun. And let's talk about new cards coming out, which are really going to be impactful, I think. Hellion is a Series 4 card coming at the beginning of the month. He's a 5/8. Says on reveal next turn you can move cards to this location. Just basically a New York or a cloak, but one-sided, which is huge. I think that a lot of people were talking about this, saying that they just think it's worse cloak, which I think is crazy. I think you only getting the option to move it makes him insane. You can either, you can choose one of the other 2 locations that you have cards at and bail on it on turn 6 and just move all your power to Hellion's location. And I think that's a huge crux for the person using Hellion, um, because a lot of the time you just you attack all 3 lanes and then oops, I have to give up on this lane, and then you just invested power into that lane for nothing. So I think Hellion is really really powerful for mid range decks to use, to just ditch one location when they have to and go full into the Hellion location, play the rest of their cards in the other location, and then they win their 2, right? So I think that's really powerful. He's kind of in the same brand as Legion for me. Probably better in my opinion. That's why I give him 4 out of 5 stars. Legion, Vision, just that same kind of flexibility. I think Hellions even more powerful. Like I said, New York, one-sided New York is just an insane thing that you can mind game your opponent with. Maybe you don't even move anything there, and your opponent didn't play anything thinking that you were going to overload that location, right? So there's a lot that Hellion can do, and I think he's going to be really, really powerful. Honestly, I should have probably given him 5 stars, but I have a lot of high hopes for Hellion. Not to mention just his move synergies as well, which are more obvious with the Vulture or the Red Wing or whatever that you can do as well. You can do Spider-Man 2099 if he gets buffed to four cost. Would work pretty well here too. So I have huge hopes for Hellion. I think he's going to be very impactful. Kid Omega, another impactful card that has a lot of synergies that are kind of scary with Nimrod. So Nimrod gets an automatic proc similar to a Tuma on turn 5. If you want to do that, you can proc something the same turn as, or I guess currently the turn before, for your elixir, and you can set up Phoenix Force and Fire Hair combos as well with Kid Omega, and he's just an easy targeted destroy that you don't have to destroy your whole lane for or anything like that, or play something that same turn. You can pre-play the Kid Omega, so it's really really powerful for targeting what you're going to destroy. Not like a Tuma, not like Carnage or Venom. It's much easier to set up, so I think that that's going to be really really powerful as a tool for those decks. Are they going to work out? I have no idea, but I think this is going to be a staple in those decks, as something that they're going to always look at and try to figure out some kind of line that they can do. Along with that, you can just do Venom shenanigans. If you want to destroy a giant, I don't know, Red Skull and grab his stats and just get rid of the downside, go ahead, be my guest. Go destroy your Starbrand on turn 3. You can do that. And then that's just essentially a 5/12 that you just played with Kid Omega. So yeah, really really powerful card. Um, that I think is really going to open up a lot of things with Nimrod and Phoenix Force decks. Yeah. And then yeah, Mercury, terrifying card. Last time I said that it was War Machine and he ended up sucking, but this time I'm sure that this is a terrifying card. Uh, 2/2 that says you can move this once. Ongoing enemy cards here can't move. 5 stars. I'm telling you right now, it's 5 stars. This is going to be broken. Why? Because it's not. This is not a tech card. Okay, I need to be very clear about that. This is not a tech card. You're not playing this to mess up your opponent on move bounce, whatever. You are playing this because you can play it with Cannonball, and Cannonball says if the card can't move, it gets destroyed. And Mercury means that the card can't get moved, so it gets destroyed. So now you're playing a 5/8 and a 2/2, and you're essentially winning that lane, and you can spend the rest of your resources on beating the other lane. So it's the same thing as that old Professor X combo where you Professor X on 5, turn 6 you cannonballed. Well, now you can do Mercury plus Cannonball. You can preset the Mercury and it moves, so you can move it to whatever location, and then Cannonball that location. You win it, and then you just use the rest of your energy for beating that other location. It's an insane combo. Any deck can use it. It's literally 2 cards, and that's not Cannonball isn't even a terrible card. Mercury is it's pretty bad, but maybe sometimes you steal a win against a move deck or whatever, right? Your opponent fears the Cannonball when you play the Mercury. So uh, it's an insane card. I'm really scared of this. I think that 2 card combo is going to be very obnoxious, and I feel like they're gonna patch something so that Cannonball doesn't work with her, and then she'll be trash. But yeah, if they just leave that interaction as is, I am very scared of that combo, and I really expect it to be kind of broken. Along with that, you can also Professor X, and if your opponent has a Nocturne or whatever in one lane, you can put the Mercury there, and you put your Professor X, and then you don't have to worry about the Nocturne moving into your Professor X lane. I don't know. I figured I'd toss it out. It doesn't protect all 3 lanes from moving into the other lane from moving into the Professor X lane. But you can be smart if you really want to play Professor X. The bigger thing is Cannonball. Really, really scary. Really, really, really terrifying. Let's talk about Series 5 cards that are coming next week. Morgan Le Fay, the only stinker that we're getting next week. See the 4/5 that says on reveal, return all your discarded and destroyed cards to hand with +3 power. I don't think this is that powerful. Sorry, it is a powerful effect. I don't think we have really good destroyers and ways to abuse this. We've seen this before where a card gives you cards like Infinity Ultron, and it's just like an activate in the fact that you have to play this early, you have to then divulge your resources the next turn, or else you just don't have time to play it and the game's over. So um, I think that takes a lot for a deck to ask, a lot to ask for a deck. Not to mention that then the deck has to also function properly if you don't get the Morgan as well. So obviously, it's pretty sweet if you get a bunch of zero cost swarms and then you bring them back to your hand and then you have a bunch of 0/6s. That's pretty sweet. Kind of dreamland, but yeah, maybe you can manage to make that happen. Killmonger is really where this gets interesting. You kill a bunch of your one cost cards, you bring them back, and then they're only once. So you can easily get rid of them and toss them out, and hopefully you have a bunch of them that then get buffed. With say, and maybe Thanos stones are the perfect target to kill. So I really expect that the destroyed portion is going to be a lot more built into than the discarded version. Because you can't really discard that many cards, and you can't guarantee not hitting the Morgan while you're discarding your cards. So I think that destroy is going to be a better avenue, and it's just going to be destroying your one cost cards, whether that be actual one cost cards like Korg and Iceman and whatever, Silver Sable, or the Thanos route. But also that kind of depends how heavily they nerf Thanos. So we'll see about that. And then Merlin, banger card, 2 cost, 3 power. At the start of each turn, add an incantation to your hand. Give him 5 stars. Let's talk about incantations before I even talk about anything else. He has 3. So if you play this on 2, you're going turn 3, turn 4, turn 5, turn 6. You're getting 4 cards to your hand, which is huge for Kahori and Devil Dinosaur just to start, right? Let's talk about the actual skills that he adds to your hand. They're all 1 cost. Banish at the end of turn. Banish after revealing, I should say. One of them replaces the location and gives Merlin 2 power, so kind of like a Reality Stone, but 2 power, and doesn't take up a board spot. Great. Once in future, uh, shuffle your lowest power card here into your deck to get +2 energy next turn, and polymorph. Transform your lowest power card here into one that costs 2 more. So both of these are lowest power card, and they give you something. So they transform or they give you energy. And this works great with something like the Hood. This works great with like crappy Thanos Stone. This works great with just fodder that you don't want. And it helps you like ramp and get stuff. So maybe you play a Mariah Hill because you're playing a Devil Dinosaur deck. Well, you can get rid of that off the board because it's just a crappy one too, right? Um, and you can ramp into your Devil Dinosaur, or you can transform your Mariah Hill into a 3/5 or whatever. Like, there's a bunch of stuff that you can do here that abuses it. The Hood is just the target that you want to be playing in this deck. But Merlin, you don't even have to play the skills. Maybe you just play cards that want your hand to be filled. There's a Series 4 card coming in the Fantastic Four season that wants your hand to be full and buffs himself if your hand is full. So there's a lot of stuff that Merlin can do, and I really expect him to see a lot of play. Um, if not, maybe the Devil Dinosaur stuff still doesn't end up working out because he's just really susceptible to tech. But I'm sure that there's something that where he's just a Kate Bishop that gives you a card every turn, and eventually, there's going to be some situation where you want one of these and it's going to work out for you and you can just have the extra energy. It's going to be great. So yeah, I have a lot of hopes for Merlin, 5 out of 5 stars. And that's it. Thank you guys for watching. Like I said, let's go back to the first slide. We have a lot of stuff coming. OTA patch, another OTA, like all within, you know, fuck, I don't know how many days are in that. May, all within a week, basically. So we have a lot of things to look forward to. I'm really looking forward to it, and if you guys like this, I would love to talk about the other cards that are coming in June. I would be happy to. So yeah, let me know if that interests you guys. thanks so much, and thanks for listening. I'm glad to talk to again. And yeah, bye.